It is 1973. In an office at Ford Motor Company's headquarters in Dearborn, Michigan, an engineer opens a spreadsheet. He is not designing a car, he is pricing one. Specifically, he is calculating the cost of a safety repair against the cost of not making it. The repair costs $11 per vehicle. He multiplies $11 by the number of Pintos on the road and gets a total. Then he calculates the other side of the ledger. He estimates how many people will die without the repair. He assigns each death a dollar value. He assigns each serious injury a dollar value. He adds them up. The repair costs more than the deaths. The memo recommending against the fix is written, reviewed, and filed. The Pinto keeps selling. The memo is later entered into evidence in a California courtroom and becomes one of the most cited documents in the history of American corporate law. Ford has given a human life a price. The price is $200,000. It is not enough. The Ford Pinto is Lee Iacocca's car. In 1968, Iacocca is Ford's president, and he has a vision that is both simple and absolute. America needs a small, cheap car before the Japanese build the market for it. The Pinto must weigh under 2,000 pounds. It must cost under $2,000. And it must be on showroom floors by 1971, which means the design to production timeline is compressed from the industry standard of 43 months to 25. That compression is a decision. Every decision in an engineering process has consequences. The consequences of this one are already visible before the first Pinto is sold. They are visible in Ford's own crash test data, and Ford's engineers have seen them. The problem is the fuel tank. In a standard rear-end collision, the Pinto's tank is positioned directly behind the rear axle, with approximately 6 inches of crush space between it and the rear bumper. When another vehicle strikes the Pinto from behind, at above 25 miles per hour, the tank collapses, the filler pipe detaches, fuel sprays into the passenger compartment. If there is any ignition source, which in a collision there almost always is, the car becomes a fire within seconds. Ford's own engineers identify this in pre-production crash tests in 1970. The fix exists. It costs $11 per car and involves a rubber bladder lining the tank. Ford knows this because it has already designed the fix. The Pinto goes on sale in September 1971 without it. The decision not to fix the tank is not made by one person in one meeting. It is made by a process. Ford's internal review system requires that any proposed safety modification be evaluated against a cost-benefit framework established by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the federal agency responsible for vehicle safety standards. The framework assigns dollar values to human deaths and injuries for the purposes of regulatory cost analysis. Ford uses this framework, the government's own arithmetic, to justify the decision it has already made. The $11 fix, multiplied across 11 million vehicles, costs $121 million. The deaths and injuries without the fix, calculated using the NHTSA values, cost $49.5 million. The memo recommends against the repair on the grounds that it is not cost effective. The memo is signed. The Pinto ships. Between 1971 and 1978, the Pinto sells 3 million units. It is one of Ford's most successful models of the decade. It wins awards. It is marketed to young buyers, to families, to first-time car owners looking for an affordable entry point into American motoring. The advertisements do not mention the fuel tank. The salespeople do not mention the fuel tank. The buyers do not know about the fuel tank. What they know is that the Pinto is cheap, available, and backed by the Ford name, one of the oldest and most trusted brands in American manufacturing. They drive it home and they put their children in it, and they do not know that the men who built it have already calculated the acceptable number of them that will die. Lily Gray is 52 years old on May 28, 1972. She is driving a 1972 Ford Pinto on a California highway with a passenger, 13-year-old Richard Grimshaw, in the seat beside her. The car stalls. A vehicle traveling behind her strikes the Pinto at low speed. The fuel tank ruptures. The car catches fire within seconds. Lily Gray dies from her injuries. Richard Grimshaw survives, but sustains burns over 90% of his body. He spends the next years in hospitals undergoing more than 60 surgeries. He loses fingers. His face is permanently disfigured. He is 13 years old when it happens. He is in the car because Lily Gray is giving him a ride. He has done nothing except exist in a car that Ford's own engineers flagged as dangerous before it left the factory. The Grimshaw family sues Ford. The case goes to trial in 1978. Ford's defense relies on the argument that the Pinto meets federal safety standards, that no regulation requires the $11 modification, and that the company has acted within the law at every stage of the vehicle's design and production. All of this is technically true. It is also true that during the trial, Ford's internal cost-benefit memo is entered into evidence. The jury reads it. They read the calculation. They read the dollar value assigned to Richard Grimshaw's face. They deliberate, and they return a verdict that at the time is the largest in American legal history: $2.5 million in compensatory damages and $125 million in punitive damages. The judge later reduces the punitive award to $3.5 million. Ford appeals. The verdict stands. The cost-benefit memo enters the public record in 1978, but it is a journalist, not a court, that brings it to the American public. Mark Dowie is an investigative reporter at Mother Jones magazine. In September 1977, a year before the Grimshaw verdict, he publishes a story titled Pinto Madness. The story is the first public account of Ford's internal knowledge of the fuel tank defect and the decision not to fix it. It names the memo. It names the calculation. It names the dollar value Ford has placed on a human life. The story wins the National Magazine Award. It is read by a prosecutor in Indiana who is about to open a criminal investigation that no American corporation has ever faced before. On August 10, 1978, 3 young women are killed when their 1973 Ford Pinto is struck from behind on a highway near Goshen, Indiana. Lynn Ulrich, 18, her sister Judy, 18, and their cousin Donna Ulrich, 16, are traveling to a volleyball game. The car catches fire on impact. All 3 die. The local prosecutor is Michael Cosentino. He has read the Mother Jones article. He has seen the Grimshaw verdict. He convenes a grand jury. On September 13, 1979, the grand jury indicts Ford Motor Company for 3 counts of reckless homicide. It is the first time in American history that a corporation has been charged with a criminal homicide. Ford does not treat it as a minor matter. Ford treats it as an existential threat. Ford assembles a legal team that local observers describe as the largest criminal defense operation in Indiana history. The company brings in James Neal, one of the most prominent trial lawyers in the United States, the man who prosecuted Watergate conspirators. It assigns dozens of attorneys to the case. It files motions. It challenges the jurisdiction. It challenges the indictment. It challenges the evidence. The trial begins in January 1980 in Winamac, Indiana, population 2,500, chosen because it is the county seat of Pulaski County where the crash occurred. Ford Motor Company, one of the largest corporations on earth, sends its full legal resources to a courtroom in a small Indiana town to fight 3 counts of reckless homicide on behalf of 3 dead teenage girls. The trial lasts 3 months. The prosecution's case rests on Ford's internal documents, the crash test data from 1970, the cost-benefit memo, and the timeline establishing that Ford knew about the defect before the car went on sale. The defense argues that the Pinto involved in the crash had been modified, that the gas cap had been left loose, and that the collision speed exceeded what any car could safely withstand. The jury deliberates for 4 days. On March 13, 1980, Ford Motor Company is acquitted on all 3 counts. The verdict is legal, and it is documented, and it stands. What also stands is the evidentiary record produced during the trial, the internal documents, the crash tests, the memo, all of it now permanently in the public record. all of it confirmed as authentic by Ford's own legal team during the proceedings. In 1978, under pressure from the NHTSA investigation, triggered in part by the Mother Jones article and the mounting litigation, Ford issues a recall of 1.5 million Pintos. The recall modification costs approximately $20 per vehicle. The company has been selling the Pinto for 7 years, with a fix it could have made for $11. The recall is framed in Ford's public communications as a proactive safety measure. It is not. It is the result of a federal investigation, sustained litigation, a national magazine expose, and a criminal indictment. The recall happens because every other available mechanism has already been exhausted. Declassified NHTS. Documents confirm the agency had been receiving reports of Pinto fuel-fed fires for years before the investigation formally opens. Lee Iacocca is fired by Ford in 1978, officially for reasons unrelated to the Pinto. He goes on to become president of Chrysler, which he saves from bankruptcy. He becomes one of the most celebrated executives in American business history. He writes a best-selling autobiography published in 1984 that sells millions of copies. The Pinto is discussed in it briefly. The cost-benefit memo is not. Iacocca dies in 2019 at the age of 94. His obituaries describe him as one of the most influential figures in the history of the American automobile industry. They are not wrong. Harold McDonald is Ford's chief engineer during the Pinto's development. He is aware of the crash test results. He is present in the meetings where the fuel tank decision is made. He retires from Ford in 1973 with full benefits and a distinguished service record. He is never charged. He is never called before Congress. He is never publicly asked to account for the decision his engineers documented in writing before the first Pinto left the factory. He dies in 1998. His name does not appear in most accounts of the Pinto story. It is in the trial record. It has been there since 1980. The Ford Pinto cost-benefit memo becomes the foundational document in American product liability law. It is taught in every law school in the United States. It is the case study that established the legal principle that a corporation cannot use cost-benefit analysis to justify a known safety defect when the cost of repair is demonstrably lower than the cost of human life. That principle is now embedded in federal product safety regulation. It exists because Ford wrote the calculation down, because a jury in California read it, because a journalist in San Francisco published it, because 3 teenage girls died on an Indiana highway, because a local prosecutor decided that a corporation should answer for the same things a person answers for. He lost. The principle survived anyway. The cost-benefit memo is not classified. It never was. It sits in the public record of the Grimshaw versus Ford Motor Company trial, available at the California Court Archives, cited in hundreds of legal decisions and academic papers and journalism school curricula. It has been publicly accessible since 1978. It has been taught in American classrooms since the 1980s. Every first-year law student in the United States learns about it. Every engineer who graduates from an American university with a professional ethics requirement reads it. Ford Motor Company is still one of the largest corporations in the world. It still sells cars. Its 2023 revenue is $176 billion. The Pinto is no longer in production. The memo is still in the archive. The arithmetic has never been disputed. The number they put on a human life was $200,000. Richard Grimshaw is still alive. He has never received an apology from Ford Motor Company. As of the public record, none has been offered. This file is now unsealed. The vault has more. Subscribe and you'll be there when the next one opens.